Hey everyone, this is Professor Zeller again, and today we're going to be going over my expectations for the literature synthesis paper, which is going to be due coming up next month in October, I believe on October 17th. Now that is a hard deadline, so your papers have to be in by October 17th. That's set by the course coordinators. Any papers that are submitted after that are going to have point deductions depending on how long it's been since you turned the paper in. So please, please, please start on this as early as you can. I know last time a lot of people had to suggest extensions, which I understand, but this is something that I really want you to work on early in case you have questions, and make sure you turn in on time because it's going to be a little bit more difficult for me to give extensions due to the nature that this has a hard deadline for all students in the program. So, what is a literature synthesis? So your first assignment, right, the outcomes assessment. Basically, you're looking into your question. What's your question going to be? What's the research that's available, and what does it say? Now you're going to take all of that information and you're going to condense it into an actual paper that goes through your project, the background, and it's really actually quite simple. I did this when I was in the CNL program years and years ago, and really it's just synthesizing the data. So you're taking the research articles and journals you found, and you're going to kind of break down the results in a way that supports your intervention, or it could not support your intervention because sometimes you have interventions that are not supported by the data, and you can explain that as well. So basically, just some overview before we start going over this. This is kind of the setup. Title page, reference page, running heads, in-text citations, appendices. This is what they're looking for with the APA format. I'm very strict on APA. I know some of y'all see that. I did take points off for APA errors. So please, please, please use your APA guidebook. It is excellent. Everything should be spelled out. If it's not, ask me and I'll be glad to help you out. But there should be no reason for APA errors given that we have a good guidebook that helps us with those. It is due on October 17th, as said, at 23:59, hard deadline. Late submissions, like I said, will incur a 5-point deduction on the final grade. So you don't want a final grade that's 5 points lower because that can be the difference between an A and a B, right? Please file the name as this. So when you submit it, it should be, for example, coreyzeller.facultygroup.literature synthesis. If you do not do that, 5 points will be deducted. That's pretty serious for just misnaming something, so please do that as well. And then there's a rubric that's going to be attached so you can look at down here as well. If you want to use that rubric, feel free to. I would as I go through this assignment to figure out how I'm going to write everything and whether or not I'm meeting standards. So definitely look at this to kind of see what we're expecting. So for the literature synthesis, let's go ahead and pull this up. Basically, you're going to be introducing the reader to the concern of the issue that you found. You need to find some statistics, use the statistics you found earlier to support why this is an important topic. So what are some pertinent statistics, things that really would grab the reader in to say, wow, this is a huge problem, we need to fix it. You need to compare the data that you've selected from your regional and local areas and compare them to the national data. What does all the data say? How does AU or whatever hospital you're at, how does that compare to the national data? You need to put your PICO question in there. Write the PICO question out. Then you need to discuss briefly each component. So just say what it is and why it's important. Search methodology. This is the part that I really want you all to watch this video for because every year people mess this up and this is very, very specific and extremely important. So I want to make sure you get this right or it could be some points taken off. So when you're doing your search methodology, you basically need to discuss the full strategy of how you're doing your search. Okay, so what did you use when you did your research? How did you include or exclude articles? And this is what I was saying to you all during the last video. The research portion on Galileo, PubMed, all these other sources is so extremely important because we have to look at how you researched and be able to basically replicate that research. So all the steps you took to find your specific articles need to be written down, and I need to be able to go back and retrace them, ideally. So whatever you did, I should be able to follow and find all the right articles. So you need to include what criteria you use to include and exclude them, keywords that you use in the search, list the databases that you use to search. Then you have to get even more specific and show for each database when you did a search, what were the total number of articles you found? What were the total number of articles you ended up using? And what are the level of evidence for the articles related to your intervention? So they want you to include this in tables, like an appendix with tables, one for each source. So say you use Galileo, you need to have a table that says Galileo search, and you need to basically say, these are my search topics. This is how many articles, say 1,000 resulted. This is how I excluded articles. And after excluding articles, this many were left. Out of this many that were left, I chose these 5, for example. You have to break that down. And if you don't do that, it will be points taken off because a big part of research is being able to go back and repeat it. So if we can't go back and see how you did your research, it's not a good guide, right? So let me give you an example. I talked in my last video about when I did a project in my DMP program on smoking cessation. So here are, this is an example, y'all, this isn't great, but here are some of my topics. So I searched smoking, I searched abstinence, which is our goal, and then the 2 interventions, abrupt cessation and gradual cessation. When I click search, boom, 3,923 results. Okay, how did I exclude or include articles? So what you can do is go over to the side. You can go and change the publication date. So say you only want articles from 1938 to 2019. Look, there you go. You can also limit it to scholarly peer-reviewed journals. Look, it already dropped down to 1,400 results. You can also limit it based on a lot of different things, a lot of filters. So we have journal type, we have subject, we have language, we have geography. Let's choose English. So say I went ahead and narrowed them down. Now I have 1,401 articles. It should definitely be a lot lower than that, but you need to basically create a chart showing exactly what I just did. How you went from 3,000 articles down to 1,000 articles, and then what made you choose the 5 articles that you chose. Kind of not a great example to show you this, but it was something fast and easy so you can see what I'm expecting. So you need to have all of your search indicators entered in here, and then you need to go through and break down what you do and you don't want. So if you want articles that are sooner than 2015, you need to make that your range. If you want articles that are peer-reviewed, you need to select peer-reviewed. If you want articles that are in English or that were on human subjects or articles that, I mean, anything really, you need to go ahead and show that and let us know how you included or excluded things and then how many results you got. So for me, it was 1,400. For you, it should probably be a lot less. So you can use any database for this, not just Galileo. Remember, you have to create actual tables for that. All right, so we already gone over that. These tables, by the way, need to be in the appendix. So on the back of your APA paper, you need to have an appendix section where you have little tables that you make on Microsoft Word that go over this and show how you broke down your search and how it went from 3,000 to 5 articles, okay? The actual synthesis itself, this is a discussion of what your literature found. It's not a summary of every article, right? You don't want to just list what you found and go over each one in depth. No, it's very, very simple. We don't want you to quote things. We want you to just summarize it in your own words, but make sure you cite, right? Keep it focused on your PICO question. So for me, say I found that smoking cessation in my articles was more improved via gradual cessation. Okay, so I would basically give a brief overview with supportive data of that. Should not be long, should not be in depth. I'm not quoting anything. However, make sure you choose articles that have actual quantitative, quantifiable results. So you want to make sure that there's been studies done that said this intervention led to this percentage of people not smoking versus this percentage of people not smoking. You want to compare those 2 interventions, and we need to have numbers and data to support that, or it's really not a strong research project. So make sure you actually find journal articles that are not necessarily qualitative. Qualitative research isn't bad, but it doesn't necessarily support the fact that your intervention is effective and that it can be used in your setting. And then professional writing, we already went over this. No abstract necessary, full APA, and I mean full APA. Look at the guidebook, it's very straightforward. 4-page limit, please don't go over 4-page. That doesn't include the title or reference page, but please limit it to that. It is very doable, I promise. And then no APA spelling, punctuation, or grammar. I'm very serious about this. I know some of y'all noticed that on the first assignment. I take points off for this because I think APA is extremely important. We're all college educated. We're all getting our masters. Some of you may continue on to your DMP. I want to make sure that you have quality research and that your APA is supportive. Because if you ever want to publish a study in the future, your APA needs to be correct or they're not going to take that submission. So we're preparing you for the future and for the role of a clinical nurse leader, because clinical nurse leaders do a lot of research to support interventions that they're looking to place on their unit. So this is basically a quick overview. I really wanted to do this mostly so you can see what I'm expecting for the search methodology. If you want actual examples of the tables and how to do them, I can find old examples and give them to you. Something I'm also going to do is I'm going to email you all a PDF copy, so you can't edit it, but a PDF copy of my literature synthesis that I did in the CNL program. It may not be exactly, it may not follow the exact parameters and guidelines you have because this was 4 or 5 years ago. However, it'll give you a good understanding of how I kind of summarized my data down and presented it in a way that was effective, that was simple, and that got the job done. So you can kind of look at that and see, this is how he threw all his research together to give a brief overview of why the smoking cessation, gradual smoking cessation was preferred over abrupt cessation, right? So I will be sending that to you in your email, so make sure to look out for that. Any questions you have, please let me know. If I were you, I would start this assignment the first week of October. Because if you wait until the last week and you run into some snags, or you find that, I don't know, I'm not finding enough data like I thought I would, and it wasn't as supportive as I thought, and you start to freak out at the last minute, it's going to be hard for me to give you an extension. That can definitely impact your grade. So please start early, ask me questions early, text me, call me, email me. I'm available 24/7. So whatever you need in regards to finishing this assignment, let me know, and I will be glad to help out in any way possible. Just briefly, they have a great example on here that you can find on D2L. This person did delirium and ABCD bundle as their topic. This is how everything should be set up. This is 100% paper, y'all. This is how they went over their project identification and need with those pertinent statistics I told you about, those statistics that reach out and grab the reader and make them want to continue reading. So this is an example of how they found theirs. There's your PICO question. That's exactly how I want it. Search methodology. How did you search? How many articles, break down how many articles you found, how you included or excluded them. So here, their inclusion criteria were English, publications after 2009. Exclusion criteria were poor research quality, publication in non-peer-reviewed journals, duplicate studies, etc. So they actually wrote down, here's how I included and excluded articles. And then here's the literature synthesis. Very straightforward, to the point, supports their intervention. And that's it, y'all. Here is their references, all APA. Excellent. And then here is their appendix. Great example of an appendix. Like, this is perfect, y'all. And you will actually now understand better what I was saying about breaking down your search terms, and with each term, what you found, how it decreased the results that were available. That's their Ovid search, their EBSCO search. Excellent. And then here they also put, this is actually a good idea. You can also do an appendix that shows what the level of evidence are for each of your interventions instead of putting it in your paragraph. This is great. So this is awesome. And this is great to see how they broke down right here, all their different search terms and what the final results were, right? So you want to make sure you do this. And if you have a problem, another great resource is the librarian. They're very helpful. They helped me during my project because this whole research, how to put in the search terms and how to break down what you found, that was very confusing to me, and it is very confusing to a lot of people. So definitely, if this part right here that we're looking at is confusing you, go talk to the librarian. If you don't want to talk to the librarian, you're short for time, call me. I'll be glad to walk you through what I'm expecting and make sure you have a grade A project. So I will be sending you mine, which is right here, antipsychotic medication education to prevent bowel obstruction, morbidity, mortality post-discharge. That was my question. So I'll be sending you a PDF copy of this to see how I kind of broke mine down. Like I said, it may not follow current guidelines because this was 5 years ago and the rubrics probably changed. But it gives you a basic idea of how I did my research and how I broke everything down. So any questions, concerns you'll have, please let me know. And please, I do hope you watch this video, because with the last assignment, a lot of people did not watch the video and they kind of got off track. They weren't able to figure out how to find the research. You may not have figured out that you need to actually have quantifiable research and they need to do a research search on Ovid or PubMed. A lot of people didn't know that. So please watch this video. It'll be very helpful. You may hear something in here that you may have missed when you were reading over the rubric or missed when you were talking to your professor about the assignment. So any questions, concerns, message me and let me know. All right, y'all, good luck on this assignment. I look forward to hearing from you.